We'll start with worms. That's just a snelled number 6 worm hook. The snelled is these little barbs on a shaft to help hold the worm on it. This is an egg hook for salmon eggs, and it's round just like a salmon egg, so that you can put it in and it'll disappear into the egg itself. And then these, of course, are the treble hooks for the cheese bait. I think that was a number 10, maybe a 12. And I think that's a 10 or a 12 egg hook. These are 6, number 6, there's some 4, there's some smaller worm hooks. Put it through the eye. Once it's through the eye, then you wrap it. I always do 5 times around. And then take that end and go back through the original loop that was made when you put it through the eye. Back into that loop, and back on itself is called an improved cinch. And just wet it a little bit so it goes down, and then you see you've got all these little turns. This is a real simple setup. Came with 4-pound line already. So we just tied a worm hook, a snelled worm hook on the end of it, right through the nose, right through the nose, yep. They don't really have heads, they're just, we don't want people to get the idea that we're being mean to worms. We're just killing them is all.
Kill over on the side.
Okay, through and then through again. And we'll go through one last time down lower. Okay. And the fish will come up to it, and the fish will probably start eating here and just keep chewing and go right on past the hook, and the hook will get down inside the fish. So sometimes you'll just get back with a little bit of worm because he'll chew it off. Get out a bobber, a simple bobber. This isn't the prettiest one, but they come with that little gizwatchy up on top with a spring inside, and that just goes over your line. You just put the line down there, and then you let it down, and then it's attached to the line, and you can slide it up and down the line so you adjust the depth. If you think the fish are within a couple of feet, you almost never want to put it closer than a couple of feet, 24 inches to the bait. Even when they're swimming around below the surface, they're within like 2 feet. And if the bobber goes underwater, the fish hasn't strong enough that you need to set the hook quickly, so you pick the rod up. Most people pick the rod up when they first see the bobber start to twitch, and they'll set the hook. You don't want to do that. You want to wait till the bobber goes under. So and sometimes the fish, sometimes they bite what they call bite light, and they just kind of nibble at it, and then you need to be right on top of it. But generally, with fish, especially in a lake like this, it's kind of like fishing in the hatchery. They're hungry, and they're going to swallow something. All right, this is Berkeley Power Bait. It's a floating Play-Doh consistency, kind of a scented cheese, ugly stuff your wife won't cook for you kind of smell to it. And it comes in a variety. This is rainbow. You got your bright fluorescent green. It comes in red. It comes in all different kinds of colors. It's like most tackle. It's made to catch fishermen, not fish. And what it is, you just roll it up into a little ball, and it floats up off the bottom so that the bait stays up above the vegetation. All these lakes have got vegetation on the bottom, and it floats up above that so that the fish can see it. And it also keeps it out, of course, keeps your hook out of the weeds and getting hung up. It's the same idea as Velveeta cheese. Velveeta cheese is also a good bait, but it sinks down below a bobber, and that's for fish that are swimming around on the surface, and we're going to do some of that in a little bit too. All right, what we have here is a real small treble hook, and it just goes right into the cheese, or right into the power bait, and you just mold it around that treble hook. The fish cannot see the hook, and this stuff just slowly melts away from the hook and still floats, and so when the fish swallows it, you usually get the hook down into its throat quite a ways, and we're just going to let it out and stay limp, and the fish will pick it up, start to swallow it, and swim off. All right, this is a sliding bobber. This is a little more technical, and what this does, it runs up and down the line, just like your weight, okay? And you can adjust. We've got it up here to this little bead, and then we've tied on it's called a bobber stop, and that's just a little piece of cloth line that comes pre-wrapped, so you can put it around the line, and you tighten it up and cut off the excess. But that stops at that bead, and then the bead stops it from going down. And what that does is it adjusts the length. What the sinker does, it gets the bait down quickly. That might be 1/8 of an ounce. Usually these are just used for big fish. We use this, and it's a good one for steelhead in some lakes, because the state takes some of its surplus steelhead from hatcheries and it plants them in lakes. And steelhead really like sand shrimp, and this is a good way to fish for these steelhead in lakes. Generally it's more of a winter thing than it is a summer thing. This is another snelled hook. You want a bigger size for sand shrimp, but we don't have any really small sand shrimp. You just run that in the back of the sand shrimp, and it actually just curls real easily right around the hook. And we get it's just like the worm.
Start pulling it through.
Yeah. These are a little more fragile than worms, though. This is actually too small of a hook for this, but then we run it back down just like that, and back out, and we leave it embedded right there. And so we end up, the line goes in here and comes out.